I like it. We are blessing that mic every time you open your mouth.
It having reached the hour of 5:30, I am calling the April 11th, 2023 Modesto City Council and the Public Finance Authority meeting to order and ask the city clerk to call the roll.
Councilmember and Commissioner Alvarez.
Here.
Vice Mayor and Vice Chair Ricky.
Present.
Councilmember and Commissioner Bavaro.
Present.
Councilmember Commissioner Williams.
Present.
Councilmember Commissioner Wright.
Here.
Councilmember Commissioner Scutia-Brayton.
Here.
Mayor and Chairperson Zwellen.
Here. Will everyone please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance, followed by the invocation from Edward Isabaki, St. John's Assyrian Evangelical Presbyterian Church.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good evening. One of the resources was saying that April is the month of Keep America Beautiful. And it's not just picking up the trashes, but I would like to see the Keep Beautiful America in all aspects. And thanks for keeping Modesto beautiful for all of us. And may God continue blessing you. Let us pray. Holy God, we praise you for your mercy, peace, protection, and your blessings upon this city, according to your timely order. I pray for this council to work for the peace and prosperity of this city. I pray that your holy wisdom be upon this council to do good, seek justice, correct oppression, bring justice to all. And I pray, Lord, bless all those who wait for you. Bless them to follow your compassion and obey your heavenly will. I pray to protect this council and their family members and keep them from harm, and enlarge their ability and their vision. Use them as your holy instruments to be your representatives on earth in this city. No matter what they do or say or decide, equip them with your great love. Establish your unity among them and make them faithful in preserving what you have entrusted them. Grant this council to keep Modesto beautiful. We pray all in holy name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen. Amen.
Thank you.
Thank you. Does the city clerk have any announcements?
Yes, Mayor. Just a reminder, public comment is 3 minutes, and there are blue speaker cards at the entrance of the chamber's doors.
Right. Do any of the council members have any conflicts of interest? Thank you. Will the city attorney report out on closed session, please?
Yes, Mayor. There is a reportable action today. The City Council met in closed session on one item related to litigation, and it is related to the national prescription opioid litigation. By 6-1 vote, with Vice Mayor Ricky voting no, the City Council gave direction to the City Manager and the City Attorney to take the necessary actions to participate in this round of settlements that will allow additional funds to be delivered to the city to be used for combating the negative impacts of opioids.
Thank you very much. Next is item 1, proclamation declaring April 22nd as Earth Day. I will read the proclamation. As the world begins to move past the pandemic, we are reminded of the extraordinary importance of maintaining a clean and healthy environment. And our global community faces challenges such as health issues, food and water shortages, and economic struggles. and all people have right to a healthy, sustainable environment with economic growth and opportunity. And the City of Modesto encourages its residents to reduce, reuse, recycle, and properly dispose of waste. And through voluntary action, help to keep our community clean and beautiful in order to restore and maintain a healthy environment. And the City of Modesto encourages all businesses, institutions, and individuals to celebrate the earth and commit to caring for the planet and its resources. And now, therefore, I, Suze Wallen, Mayor, do hereby proclaim April 22nd, 2023 as Earth Day, and encourage our residents to participate in programs and activities that promote an understanding of environmental protection, climate change, and the need to create a healthier, safer, and more equitable future for our people. Accepting this proclamation, we have Mayor Richard O'Brien from Riverbank and Marlene Champlin, Director of OB Green Recycling Program at O'Brien's Market, Rachel Laredo, founder of the Awesome Spot Playground, Kelly Gloria, founding board member of the Awesome Spot Playground. And we have a few comments from Marlene, is my understanding. She is the Director of OB Green Recycling Program.
Hello, City Council and Mayor. Thank you so much for this opportunity. And it's great to see some of you. I only see you here. So it's good to see you. And some of you I see all over the place. It's a great thing. And thank you for this proclamation. As you mentioned, I'm Marlene Champlin of Campbell & Associates Advertising and Productions, and I represent the O'Brien's Market Company. And I'd like to thank all of our sponsors, our donors, our volunteers for the OB Green Recycling Program who have steadfastly committed to recycling for a cause for over 17 years in this program here in Modesto. As many of you know, the causes for the OB Green through the O'Brien's family and formerly B Green through the Boyettes recycling project benefactors has changed over the years, but all of them have been part of the City of Modesto's Partner Program, a program which gives so much back to our community by partnering with the private sector to do exactly what Earth Day commemorates, the actions of all of us to work together to beautify and preserve the earth, especially the part of it in our own backyard. So as my grandfather would say, always leave it better than you found it. The O'Briens are excited that the City of Modesto's Earth Day Festival is back and that we get another opportunity to provide the community with a convenient, joyful way to turn in their recyclables and turn them into cash for the construction and completion of the Awesome Spots Playground, the Valley's first all-inclusive, all-abilities playground right here in Modesto. I'd also like to take this time to thank the Laredo family, specifically Rachel Laredo, who first brought the Awesome Spot Playground proposal to the City of Modesto, to the Gloria family, Kelly and her husband Dominic, for their commitment to making the Awesome Spot Playground a reality, Chad Kennedy, who couldn't be here tonight, of Odell Engineering, the designer of the playground, and his staff, including Catherine Lewis, landscape architect, and finally to Craig Harris, Harris Builders Incorporated, a Creams team, are working to construct the playground. There are thousands more that could and should be thanked. That's a fact. Hopefully you all of you that I didn't mention specifically receive this message with that intent, and we'll see you at Earth Day, City of Modesto's Earth Day Festival, yay Mariah, on April 22nd, that's Saturday. I'd like to, Richard O'Brien, who's the president of Society for Disabilities, one of another group that is absolutely benefiting from the Awesome Spot Playground, a lot of their constituents. He's got a little, just to say howdy to you, Mayor Whalen.
All right, thank you. And 3 minutes, please, Mayor O'Brien.
I have never spoken for 3 minutes.
All right.
No, I just want to say, on behalf of O'Brien's Market, I want to thank the City of Modesto for the partnership for the last 17 years. We have raised a considerable amount of money because through you, and we encourage other businesses to find partnerships to continue. Wait a minute, what was that about getting money? Yeah. Collecting money for the Awesome Spot and other programs just as important. And sir, thank you for what you do for the society.
Thank you very much. Thank you for being here this evening. Did you have some comments? All right.
I was just going to present them in addition to the proclamation. We have a check for the Awesome Spot for $4,000 in redeemed CRV recycling. So we will present that to OB Green, to O'Brien's, and to the Awesome Spot on behalf of the City of Modesto.
All right, thank you. I will now bring the proclamation down also to present it. Go right ahead.
This is the part I love the most.
The giant check.
The giant check.
I love this part.
Come on.
David, you're a big part of Awesome Spot.
I know, I'm still thinking, when am I ever supposed to?
That's why it was a good joke.
First time I had my picture taken with two there.
Congratulations. Thank you so much. See what this is? See what happened?
Thank you so much. What's up, stranger? How are you? Oh, God. It is good to see you.
Have a good evening and drive safely. Item 2, proclamation declaring April as Genocide Awareness Month. I will read the proclamation. As we remember the victims of the genocides our world has faced, we also honor the strength and resilience of the people who survived these horrific acts of violence. Genocide after genocide, people have been forced to build new lives in all corners of the globe. They forged ahead in the face of these unimaginable tragedies. Thousands made their homes in California, and we are greater for their contributions. And Genocide Remembrance Month is a day for all to reflect on past and present genocides, including, but not limited to, the Holocaust, Holodomor, and the genocides of the Armenian, Assyrian, Greek, Cambodian, and Rwandan communities. And as a community, the City of Modesto stands together and joins our brothers and sisters in an effort to memorialize their fallen ancestors and to ensure that these atrocities are not repeated in the future. And as we remember the past, let us also dedicate and recommit ourselves to making certain that we always speak out against hatred anytime we witness it, and build a greater future together. And now, therefore, I, Suze Wallen, Mayor, do hereby proclaim April 2023 as Genocide Awareness Month in the City of Modesto. Stephen Miller, political science professor at Modesto Junior College, will be accepting the proclamation. And I understand you have a few comments that you'd like to make. Welcome.
First and foremost, I'd like to thank Mayor Zeus Wallet and the entire City Council. I think that that was beautifully stated, the proclamation, and it's very important to have this awareness month, and very needed. And I'm hoping that it can help support and facilitate and encourage school systems in Modesto and the City of Modesto to have events and learning activities to gain further understanding of genocides. Genocide is the most horrific crime against humanity, and the first step is to understand why they happened and what can be done to make sure they never happen again. So I just want to thank you very much.
You're welcome. Thank you for being here this evening, and I will now bring the proclamation down to present it. Next is item 3, a proclamation declaring the week of April 10th through the 14th, 2023 as Community Development Week. And I will read the proclamation. The Community Development Block Grant Program has operated since 1975 to provide local governments with the resources required to meet the needs of primarily low and moderate income individuals and families. And the Community Development Block Grant Program is amongst the few remaining federal programs available to the development of viable urban communities by providing decent housing, a suitable living environment, and through expanding economic opportunities, principally for persons of low and moderate income. And the Community Development Block Grant Program has provided the City of Modesto with important and flexible assistance to meet the needs of low and moderate income residents by funding sewer, water, street improvements, economic development, homeowner rehabilitation, and other public improvement projects. And the Community Development Block Grant Program has been recognized nationally by our Congress due to the critical value this program brings to our communities and for the significant projects that rely on its funds for support. Now, therefore, I, Suze Wallen, Mayor, do hereby proclaim the week of April 11th to the 14th, 2023, as National Community Development Week in the City of Modesto. Jessica Hill, Interim Director of Community and Economic Development, will say a few words, to introduce the organizations in attendance. Welcome.
Great. Thanks, Mayor, City Council. I'm honored for this week to be named National Community Development Block Grant Week. The City of Modesto was recently awarded an Audrey Nelson Award of the most effective use of CDBG funds in our local city. The CDBG program and the services within the community would not be effective without the partnership we have with our local nonprofits. And I'd like to call up 4 nonprofits today, which we'll be highlighting this week. I'd like to call up Emily Webster of the Youth Navigation Center, Courtney Morse by the Pathways Program, Anna Andrade with Project Sentinel, and Steve Ashman of CASA of Stanislaus County to talk about their partnership with the city and the services they offer our community.
All right. Thank you. Welcome, all of you.
Thank you. Hello, City Council and Mayor Swallen. My name is Emily Webster. I'm the Youth Navigation Center Director at Center for Human Services. And the Youth Navigation Center is a proud recipient of City of Modesto's Community Development Block Grant funding. And we are very grateful for the support that we have and the partnerships we have in the City of Modesto. So the Youth Navigation Center provides shelter, housing, and comprehensive drop-in services to youth and young adults from age 13 to 24 in Modesto and throughout the county. And they're youth who are experiencing homelessness, housing instability, and crisis within our community. So thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Hello, I am Courtney Morse, representing Center for Human Services Pathways Program, and we are proud recipients of the City of Modesto's Community Development Block Grant funding. Our Pathways Program utilizes the Stanislaus County Coordinated Entry List, to offer transitional housing for young adults 18 to 24 who are experiencing homelessness. Participants live in a dorm-like setting and work on life, financial, and job skills with the goal of finding permanent housing. And we invite you to learn more about our Pathways program by visiting yncstanislaus.org.
Thank you.
Good evening, Mayor and Council members. My name is Ana Andrade. I'm a Community Outreach Coordinator with Project Sentinel. We're proud recipients of the City of Modesto's Community Development Block Grant funding. This funding has allowed us to create a bigger impact in our community. Project Sentinel promotes diverse and inclusive communities by protecting the civil rights of those seeking to live in Modesto. We offer fair housing education and counseling to both renters and housing providers. Among other services here in Modesto. We invite you to learn more about Project Sentinel by visiting us online at housing.org. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Good evening, Mayor
Good
and
evening.
members of the City Council. I'm Steve Ashman, the Executive Director of CASA of Stanislaus County, which is an acronym for Court-Appointed Special Advocates. What we do is we advocate for our children and youth who are in foster care. There's over 900 kids at any given time in our county in foster care. We have over 335 of those kids on our high priority wait list. We work with our judge, our social workers, attorneys, and others to make sure that these kids have the best possible outcome. And we cannot say enough about your support and your continuing support over the years and how much we appreciate it. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you very much for being here this evening, and I will now bring the proclamation down and present it. All right, next on the agenda, item 4, consider accepting the resignation of Hank Pollard from the City of Modesto Planning Commission. Does council have any questions of staff? Seeing none, I'll open up to the public. Any comments regarding this item, item 4? I do not see anyone in person for this item. How about online? No one online. I'll close public comments. Any comments from council members? Seeing no hands raised, I'll call for, oh, excuse me. Oh, sorry about that. Councilmember Alvarez.
Thank you, Councilmember. I just wanted to take a few seconds to, I worked with then Commissioner Pollard on the Planning Commission for several years, and I found him to be a community member of high integrity, and I really appreciate the years of service that he has given to this community and the Planning Commission. His work was honorable, and I wish him well in his endeavors. And again, thank him for his public service. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
I just want to make a quick, brief comment to Professor Miller. I took your class back in my MJC days, about 2012, I believe, 13. And I took an American government course, and I was an MJC student government at the time, and you were one of my most challenging professors. But look where I ended up, and I appreciate your rigorous courses. I think I took you twice. I didn't repeat. I took you 2 times because I enjoyed your instruction. So.
All right. Item 4, resolution accepting the resignation of Hank Pollard from the City of Modesto Planning Commission. Do I have a motion?
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
Motion by Councilmember Wright, second by Councilmember Scudia-Brayton. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Councilmember Alvarez.
Aye.
Vice Mayor Ricky.
Aye.
Councilmember Bavaro.
Aye.
Councilmember Williams.
Aye.
Councilmember Wright.
Aye.
Councilmember Scudia-Brayton.
Aye.
And Mayor Zwollen.
Aye. Motion carries unanimously, 7-0. Item 5, consider accepting the resignation of Tim Fisher from the Modesto Convention and Visitors Bureau Board of Directors. Does council have any question of staff? I'll open it to the public. Are there any members of the public that would like to speak regarding item 5? I do not see anyone in person. Online, I see Jenny.
Hi. I just want to thank Tim for all that he's given to the city, and he's been on that commission for a while. And I meant to say the same for Mr. Pollard, that I wanted to congratulate him and thank him also for their dedication to the city and volunteers. It's with great respect that they take their time to do this. So I just wanted to thank them both.
All right. Any other comments from the public? I do not see anyone online or in person. I would also like to make a comment that Tim has given so much to this community. As long as I've known him, he's been a public servant. He served on this council for a period of time, and he and his wife both have given tremendously, so I'm really grateful for his service. I have a resolution accepting the resignation of Tim Fisher from the Modesto Convention and Visitors Bureau Board of Directors. Do I have a motion?
Motion.
Motion from
Second.
Councilmember Williams.
Second.
Second from Vice Mayor Ricky. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Councilmember Alvarez.
Aye.
Vice Mayor Ricky.
Aye.
Councilmember Bavaro.
Aye.
Councilmember Williams.
Aye.
Councilmember Wright.
Aye.
Councilmember Scutia-Brayton.
Aye.
And Mayor Swallen.
Aye. So the motion carries unanimously. Item 6, consider appointing Chad Hillegas and Amber Lingley and reappointing Bert Tabrizi and Rodney Cordova to the Modesto Convention and Visitors Bureau Board of Directors for a 2-year term retroactive to January 1st, 2023 through December 31st, 2024. Does council have any questions of staff? Seeing none, any comments from the public regarding item 6? I do not see anyone online or in person. Back to the council for any comments. All right, I have a resolution, excuse me. Can I do those together? Yes, together. Okay. Resolution appointing Chad Hillegas and Amber Lingley to the Modesto Convention and Visitors Bureau Board of Directors for a 2-year term retroactive to January 1st, 2023 through December 31st, 2024. And a resolution reappointing Bert Tabrizi and Rodney Cordova to the Modesto Convention and Visitors Bureau Board of Directors for a 2-year term retroactive to January 1st, 2023 through December 31st, 2024. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Moved by Councilmember Scutia-Brayton.
Second.
Second by Councilmember Alvarez. Will the clerk please call the roll for this item?
Councilmember Alvarez.
Aye.
Vice Mayor Ricky.
Aye.
Councilmember Bavaro.
Aye.
Councilmember Williams.
Aye.
Councilmember Wright.
Aye.
Councilmember Scutia-Brayton.
Aye.
And Mayor Swallen.
Aye. Motion carries unanimously, 7-0. Next is public comment period. Does anyone wish to speak on any item under public comment? And this is for items not on the council agenda. Each person has 3 minutes to speak. We have several in-person cards. First is Susan Beasley.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen of the City Council. Glad to be here. Thank you so much. I am Susan Mendieta Beasley, Executive Director of the Parent Resource Center, and I'm here to invite you all to our 30th anniversary. 30 years ago, the Parent Resource Center was established. We were actually part of the Public Health Department, but unfortunately, due to budget cuts, we had to form our own agency, and we've been serving our families on the west side of Modesto, south side, and the airport neighborhood, pretty much all of Modesto for 30 years. We invite you on Thursday, April 27 from 5 to 7 for an open house reception. The next day, we invite you to Child Remembrance Day. The month of April is one that we recognize as Child Abuse Prevention Month. So we'll be observing Child Remembrance Day at 10 a.m. with a moment of silence to remember those children that have been hurt and lost to child abuse. And then Our third one is on Saturday. We will be part of Love Modesto. I have given an invitation, a flyer to each one of you. You also have a wonderful survival kit, and I urge you to read it because that's part of what we give our families. A rubber band to remind us to be flexible. A penny so we can never say we're broke. A chocolate Hershey kiss because someone at the PRC loves you. Marble in case you ever lose yours. Every once in a while I look at mine and I think, yeah, I gotta have that there. There's a piece of string so you can tie up all those loose ends, and there's an eraser so you can erase the mistakes that you've made in life and start anew. So we would love to have you. Each one of you has that. Also, each one of you has a pinwheel. Pinwheel is a symbol of a happy childhood. Thank you so much, Jeremiah. He's trying to do that. I'd love to see you all blow on that. Yeah, there you go. You got it. That's the symbol of a happy childhood, and that's what we want for all of our children here in Modesto. So I look forward to seeing you. Please come join us. I invite all of my fellow Modestans as well, and again, hope to see you there. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Online, I see Ramon Rodriguez.
Good evening, Madam Mayor and council members. I have 2 items that I'll speak on public comments. First item I'm speaking about is the exit 226B that's on Highway 132 and 99 that connects with 5th Street and Mace Boulevard. And I have issues with that exit because the traffic lights does not work well and doesn't align with the newly built exit for 132. Because what I saw yesterday, that there are cars that are running into the red lights, making a left turn on the red lights. And that's also really concerning because people are running red lights, and then you got people from L Street and Mace Boulevard. Well, it's the same street anyways, but they were waiting, and that exit is a potential for an accident to happen because the traffic lights are not aligned very well, especially with the new exit for 132. And I'm asking if it's a Caltrans thing or a Modesto thing, because that light needs to be fixed right away. Otherwise, there are going to be some car accidents. And you got big trucks coming into Modesto. And I see a big rig making like a left turn or a right turn on a red. And that's like a huge issue. Second item I'm speaking about is Genocide Awareness Month. And I'm bringing this up again because, as you might know, a few years back, you had this crazy homophobic person by the name of Don Grunman who wants to spread his hate fest. And as the years come by, and it's happening now with all the states passing laws that limiting the rights of LGBTQ people, they're getting more powerful and powerful, and that's what hate happens. It starts with them, and they're spreading the message of hate that is being normalized. And sadly, you guys are not took a stand against hate when you have like Melinda Mason and all of her ilk spreading hate against the LGBTQ people, immigrants, women, all because they want to create a state that fits their ethno-nationalistic agenda. So if you guys are serious of this awareness, you need to stand against hate, because Don Grunman and Melinda Mason might come back again to spread hate even more because they're being empowered to it. And I urge you all to take a stand against hate of every kind, because we are all Modestans. Equality, love, and inclusion is what matters to everyone, and we want to have a safe and inclusive community. And that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Next is Tina Perez Tateo.
Okay. Good evening, Mayor and council members. My name is Tina Perez Tateo. I represent the cruising culture of Modesto. I'm here to ask, please put the ban on cruising on the agenda again. Last Tuesday, our dear friends down in National City got their ban lifted the exact same day as we were having our meeting here. after a long 2-year battle. We are so excited for them and Jovita and her crew. Congratulations to them all. Mayor and council members, we are willing to work even harder to accomplish this goal this year with you all and with Chief Gillespie, so that Modesto can be the next city with great pride, so we can all cruise, because cruising is not a crime. I wish the Happy Spot people were still here, because we are actually getting together, and we're going to have a few classic cars. We're going to be out there at the spot helping and volunteering with them this Saturday, and I'm looking forward to that, and also having our classic cars there. So if anybody's not doing nothing on Saturday, come on out and help us with the special needs kids. Okay? Thank you all. Thank you.
Thank you. I do not see any hands raised online, correct? So next is Adrian Harrell.
Good evening, Madam Mayor, honorably elected officials, ladies and gentlemen of the gallery. Adrian Harrell with Newbridge Management. This evening I appear before you as a city volunteer. I do apologize in that this report is about 3 weeks tardy. I had hoped to present it in the month of March. Modesto Sister Cities International, a nonprofit organization, had since its inception served Modesto and the surrounding communities by managing the international relationships of the city with its several sister cities and one sister county around the world. 2022 was no exception. The dedicated individuals continue to serve throughout the year with some major changes. In February 2022, the Board of Directors saw its first major change in the makeup of its members in years. Katrina Gerard, Brenda Brannon, Beth Au, Christy Nelson, Tom Durbin, Nancy Holmes, and Rainier Nelson resigned from the board. Brenda Brannon and Tom Durbin had served the organization for more than 3 decades. Katrina Gerard had served as the organization as its president since January 2020. Other members had also served the organization for a better part of a decade. For their service, we thank them for being great representatives of Modesto and serving as ambassadors to the various countries throughout their tenure. The resignation of these members came abruptly. Thankfully, the remaining members had served the organization for a long time, some since inception. The remaining board members were John Mensinger, Julia Mensinger, Richard Navarro, Josephine Navarro, Adrian Harrell, Gary Bebow, James Bussey, Vicky Takanaga, and Mary Barberis. Since some of these individuals who resigned were officers of the organization, the group elected the following individuals to serve as officers: Adrian Harrell as president, Richard Navarro as vice president, Julia Mensinger as treasurer, and Vicky Takanaga as secretary. The first focus of the new lean organization was to gain access to the bank accounts, email accounts, and any other accounts that belong to the organization. With that task under control, the group focused on inviting community members to serve on the board of directors. It is with pleasure to say the following individuals joined the Modesto Sister Cities International Board of Directors: Steve Altman, John Peltier, and Men Bebow. Janie Zog, a previous board member, also returned to serve. With the addition of 2 attorneys on the board then focused on reviewing the organization's bylaws since they had not been amended or reviewed for a long time. The committee that would take on this important task to update the bylaws to reflect the realities of a post-COVID world was formed. The committee continues to work on reviewing and proposing changes to the bylaws. The work is expected to be completed summer 2023. The internal changes of the organization made the organization stronger and more committed to its mission of developing international relationships, one person at a time across national borders, and spreading goodwill and understanding. The board members continue to maintain and manage programs that were already in progress. The individual reports submitted to each of the committees are attached to this report. The board of directors had put on a fundraiser for Ukraine. The event was attended more than 500 people. MSCI was able to raise more than $80,000 for Ukrainians.
Are you able to wrap it up
I
so
am.
soon?
I am.
And we're really trying to stick to the 3 minutes for everyone. So I don't know if you have it in writing and you could.
I do have it in writing, and I will submit it, and I'll let you read.
Okay, that'd be great, and we'll have copies made for us.
One final note: our financials have been reviewed, and they are also copied into the report. And I finally would like to invite you to attend the reception that we're having for the new Ukrainian mayors that will be attending in Modesto on April 27th at the McHenry Museum. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, next is Bethany Hunt.
I do understand that there is perhaps a conflict really quickly. You guys had an agenda item for retiree hazard pay.
Correct,
This
that's
is for
later.
part-time hazard pay.
So feel free to
Okay,
speak.
great. Good evening, Mayor and council members. I appreciate the opportunity to speak to you this evening. I come to you tonight as a reluctant spokesperson for part-time employees of our city who served dutifully during the pandemic, but have not received the same recognition as our full-time colleagues in the form of hazard pay. I've worked for the city for more than 20 years, and I believe that it is important for the council to recognize the value and the efforts and sacrifices that I and employees like me made through the pandemic. My coworkers and I worked in person throughout the pandemic, providing critical support to the citizens and business owners of Modesto. As a clerk with the Business License Division, I proudly provided public service face-to-face, assisting citizens throughout the pandemic, even as other city employees were permitted to work from home. I readily made my schedule more flexible when my office was left short-staffed because my teammates were on extended medical leaves due to underlying medical conditions that made them vulnerable to COVID, and to those who had contracted COVID and were gone for periods of time. I understand and accept that as a part-time employee, I do not receive many of the same benefits afforded as to my full-time colleagues. However, I believe the purpose of hazard pay differs from other forms of benefits. The hazard pay is meant to compensate the employees who took an additional risk in order to support the city and its citizens. I ask that you show that you value our work and sacrifice and use the same parameters for part-time staff that were used in establishing eligibility for the full-time staff for pandemic hazard pay, which include the following: active and current City of Modesto employment during the periods outlined, which were 2 years and 6 months, with a minimum of 230.8 hours worked in office per year, and 115.4 for the following 6 months. I, for one, worked an average of 900 hours for each of those years in person, and I don't qualify for the hazard pay. To offer compensation for hazard pay to some employees who worked in office for a limited number of hours, but not to others, goes against the intended spirit and use of these funds, which is to compensate employees who place themselves at a greater risk in order to ensure the continued operation of vital services. I respectfully ask that the council recognize the hard work of all of its employees. I believe that it is your duty to commit to providing hazard pay to part-time employees who meet or exceed the parameters established for our full-time colleagues. Please show that you value us. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Next is Patricia.
So thank you for your time. So a few of my directors were here earlier. My statements don't represent them or my employer, past or current. In November of 2022, I was contractually hired by Stanislaus County Child Welfare as a reunification case manager. The agency fired me 8 days after I was hired. I currently work for Center for Human Services as a case manager in a children's behavioral health program. The ages of my clients range from 4 to 17 years old. I carry a dual role in this job, but my main role is to teach and strengthen resilience in children through rehabilitative services. I love my job and I'm really good at my job, and it brings me great joy to teach little ones. Previous to my current job,
From March 2022 to November 2022, I worked at Hutton House with youth. In that job, I worked with Stanislaus County Child Welfare social workers and foster care youth who utilize the shelter for youth in care. In May of 2020, I was presented with slander and libel by Stanislaus County Child Welfare, and I was given a silent ultimatum to renounce my God and my Savior, Jesus Christ, and admit to my own insanity or lose my children. I refused to renounce my God and his son, Jesus, my Savior. I informed Stanislaus County Child Welfare that they were committing a federal crime by violating my civil rights protections. I was met with more aggressive slander, libel, twisted versions of the truth, humiliation, degradation by the agency, and was assigned an attorney that submitted to the petition against my direction, and my children were stolen from me. The slander, libel, gossip, misrepresentation, humiliation, and degradation has followed me every day of my life as a result of my refusal to renounce the name of Jesus. I was then left with two options: to relent and deny my God, or be shamed into silence and reclusion by use of slander, libel, and the mocking of my God, whose name is Jesus. I remain defiant as I do now. I won't be moved. There is a freedom in losing everything that mattered to me. I was separated from my children and told they would never return home. I assure you I can carry no greater sorrow, no greater pain than having my children stolen from me. And my God did not fail to stand me up on my 2 feet, to strengthen me, to endure and hold me together when all I wanted to do was fall apart. My God, may Jesus healed me and returned me to my sound mind. I've been fighting to bring my children home for 3 years. I began with the Judiciary Committee on Judicial Performance, then I reported to the National Civil Rights Commission, then the State Civil Rights Commission, then licensing boards, then the California Bar Association. I wrote my own appeal to the district courts and so on. The cost of each inquiry or request totaled about $300 each time for copies and shipping, and each and every act of defiance against Stanislaus County Child Welfare was met with consequence. As a result of my refusal to renounce my God and my Jesus, slander and libel precede me and follow me. My mental health records were influenced. I've been fired from my job, lost job opportunities, lost income. As CPS allows me to keep about $1,100 of the $3,200 I gross a month per court order by Commissioner Hara. And I continue to suffer personal and professional consequences. And if I am to lose my third job that I love as a contracted Stanislaus County BHRS Children's Behavioral Health Service provider with Center for Human Services, or because this council approves funding for CHS, because of the consequences of my choice to refuse to renounce the name of Jesus, my voice will not fall silent and I will not crumble to my knees. Jesus is my strength, and let him be the demise to the design of the system that destroyed my family. In my professional responsibilities, I've seen this work the other way, and I cannot state to that because my job involves strict confidentiality.
Patricia?
And if Stanislaus County Child Welfare pursues prosecution against me as a result, I'm going to finish speaking, Mayor. As a result of sharing the details of these cases, as they have previously informed me that they would, if I showed anyone the petition, you will find me only closer to Jesus, unrelenting in my pursuit of him. In about 4 weeks in May of 2023, I will attend court, and in the hearing, Stanislaus County Council will testify that I have been lost to madness and there will be no healing. Their words usually sound like this: Your Honor, she has a severe mental health condition that will only continue to decline and she will never recover.
Patricia?
She has no understanding or comprehension, and so on.
Patricia?
Stanislaus County Child Welfare will testify to the court.
You've
and I quote,
exceeded your time.
Her
Can
children
you please finish
understand
your
that their mother is
comments?
severely mentally ill and she will continue to decline. And they would like to stay in their current foster home as they have been testifying in court since May of 2020 for 3 years. I will honor that. Just a moment. My court-appointed Stanislaus County-funded attorney will speak to the court on behalf of the state. As he has previously always stated, Your Honor, my client has presented her truth as she believes it to be true, as she stands by her truth, as he refers to the content of the documents.
Patricia, will you listen just for a moment?
My children's
So by continuing to speak,
attorney
you're disrupting
will
the
echo
conduct of the meeting, and if you don't
Stanislaus
stop,
County
we will
Child-
turn off your microphone, Patricia.
And I will continue to speak. You may do that. To the court. And the comments that are made are the kids are safe. My children always being referred to as goats in the court. Never children, but as goats. By all parties in the matter. My children will then be made eligible for adoption, and they will be auctioned off by Stanislaus County Child Welfare.
Okay, Patricia.
My case will then be added to the
Patricia,
statistical
please
data
listen
used
to
to
me.
demonstrate the need
Patricia?
for increased federal funding for the program in this county. The current proposed
Patricia,
budget totaling $1.07
all right,
million.
you've been given a fair warning.
The
and
design of
we've
this program
and
is
you've elected
is working
to
perfectly.
disrupt this meeting, and I'll
Perfectly
now order that
designed
the microphone be cut
and
off.
perfectly executed by Stanislaus County Child Welfare. I'm not here to ask you to change
All right, Patricia. Patricia, can you please step away from the podium and take your seat? We have officers that will help you. You need to step away and take your seat. Thank you. Please step away.
Beginning of every meeting, this council gathers closely for an invocation. The heads are then bowed and
We're happy to take your comments.
invite my God into this place. In my name, Jesus.
Please take your seat.
Stanislaus County, we have responded for construction.
All right. Please take your seat, Patricia. Thank you. All right. I do not see anyone else online. And I do not have any blue cards, any additional blue cards for public comment. Is there anyone else wishing to come forward to speak under public comment? Each person has 3 minutes. All right, seeing none, next on the agenda is consent items. An item may be removed from consent and discussed at the request of a member of the public or council member. Is there anyone on the council that would like a consent item removed for further discussion? Vice Mayor Ricky.
I'd like to pull item 16.
Item 16. All right. Is there anyone in the public that would like an item removed from consent for further discussion or comment? Is there anyone online that's requesting or has their hand raised? No? All right. Thank you. I'll wait a few moments to make sure no one online would like to pull a consent item. All right. Seeing no hands raised, will the city clerk please read the consent items on the city council agenda and the Public Finance Authority agenda?
Yes, Mayor. Item 7, consider approving the minutes from the April 4th, 2023 council meeting. Item 8, consider approving final adoption of ordinance 3761 CS, amending section 27-3-9 of the zoning map of the City of Modesto to rezone from low-density residential R1 to medium-density residential R3 properties located at 1505 and 1513 Scenic Drive in Modesto. Item 9, consider approving the final adoption of ordinance 3762 CS, amending section 10-4.102 of Title 10, Chapter 4, Development Standards, Article 1, Residential Zones, repealing sections 10-4.115 and section 10-4.116 of Title 10, Chapter 4, Development Standards, Article 1, Residential Zones, adding Article 5 regarding accessory dwelling units to Title 10, Chapter 4, Development Standards, and repealing and replacing Chapter 8 of Title 10 regarding density bonus and affordable housing. Item 10, consider accepting the informational fiscal year 2022-2023 general fund mid-year update report and approving the recommended budget adjustments for the major general fund revenues and expenditures in fiscal year 2022-2023 annual operating budget. Item 11, consider accepting fiscal year 2023-2024 engineers annual report for landscape maintenance assessment district number 1 for Dry Creek Meadows subdivision numbers 1 through 6. Notice of intention to levy and collect assessments for landscape maintenance assessment district 1 for Dry Creek Meadows subdivisions numbers 1 through 6, and setting a public hearing on June 27, 2023 to consider the fiscal year 2022-2023 levy and collection of assessments within Landscape Maintenance Assessment District 1. Item 12, consider accepting the fiscal year 2023-2024 Engineers Annual Report for Landscape Maintenance Assessment District Number 2 for Dry Creek Meadows numbers 7 through 10, Creekwood Meadows Subdivision, and Yosemite Meadows Subdivision Units 1 and 2. Notice of intention to levy and collect assessments for Landscape Maintenance Assessment District Number 2 for Dry Creek Meadows Subdivision Number 7 through 10, Creekwood Meadows Subdivision, and Yosemite Meadows Subdivisions Unit 1 and 2, and setting a public hearing on June 27, 2023 to consider the fiscal year 2023-2024 levy and collection of assessments within Landscape Maintenance Assessment District Number 2. Item 13, consider accepting the fiscal year 2023-2024 Engineers Annual Report for the Shackelford Landscape and Lighting District, notice of intention to levy and collect assessments for the Shackelford Landscape and Lighting District, and setting a public hearing on June 27, 2023, to consider the fiscal year 2023-2024 levy and collection of assessments within the Shackelford Landscape and Lighting District. Item 14, consider approving a revolving loan fund program for capital facilities fees, water connection and wastewater capacity fees, and a downtown revolving loan fund program for construction costs and fees. Item 15, consider approving the City of Modesto's Permanent Local Housing Allocation Program Year 3 Award. Item 16 was removed from consent. Item 17, consider authorizing the city manager or designator to negotiate and enter into agreements to relocate utilities within various public utility companies, including Union Pacific Railroad, AT&T, State Lands Commission, and other public agencies as necessary to facilitate the construction of the new 7th Street Bridge over the Tuolumne River. Item 18, consider adopting the bylaws for the Measure L Citizens Transportation Sales Tax Commission. Item 19, consider accepting the monthly investment report for January 2023. Item 20, consider approving an agreement with Elevon Inc. out of Atlanta, Georgia for merchant services for an annual estimated amount of $141,965 and a total amount not to exceed $1,135,720 over 8 years. Item 21, consider approving a purchase agreement with the California Department of Technology and the Crayon Software Experts, LLC, out of Dallas, Texas, for the city's Microsoft Enterprise Agreement and licensing for a total amount not to exceed $2,640,392 over 35 months. Item 22, consider approving a First Amendment to the annual agreements with West Coast Arborists, Inc. out of Anaheim for the furnishings of all on-call vegetation management services for Parks, Recreation, and Neighborhoods Department for a one-time increase of $350,000 up to year 2 of the agreement for a year 2 total of $600,000 and for a total revised estimated amount not to exceed $1,600,000 over the term of the agreement. Item 23, consider approving the subdivision of the city's local transportation funds fiscal year 2022-2023 claim for the non-motorized and other purposes bike lanes and pedestrian pathways in the amount of $297,316 to the Stanislaus Council of Governments to be used for the Virginia Corridor Phase 7. Item 24, consider approving a list of projects to be funded with the Road Repair and Accountability Act tax proceeds for fiscal year 2023-2024. Item 25, consider authorizing the submittal of grant applications to Cal Recycle for the Organics Grant Program. Item 26, consider authorizing the submittal of applications to the Environmental Protection Agency for the Climate Pollution Reduction Grant Program. Item 27, consider approving the plans and specs for the Grayson Community Straighten and Replace Water Mains Project, accepting the bid and awarding a construction contract to DA Wood Construction, Inc. out of Oakdale for a total not to exceed $2,966,217. Item 28, consider accepting the Department of Water Resources 2021 Urban and Multi-Benefit Drought Relief Grant Program Award of $1 million for the Well 32 Treatment System and Flush Line Project, authorizing the city manager or his designee to enter into a local project sponsor agreement with Contra Costa Water District and execute all related documents. Item 29, consider approving 3 on-call agreements for materials testing and special inspection services with Crazon and Associates, Inc., BSK Associates, and Terracon Consultants, Inc. for a 1-year agreement with 2 one-year extension options for an annual estimated amount not to exceed $74,500 per consultant and a total amount not to exceed $223,500 per consultant over 3 years. Item 30, consider approving a First Amendment to the agreement with National Plant Services, Inc. out of Hayward, California for pipe inspection and assessment services for the River Trunk Inspection and Assessment Project for a revised agreement total not to exceed $510,300. And item 1 from the Public Finance Authority agenda, consider approving the minutes from the May 26, 2020 Public Finance Authority meeting.
All right, may I have a motion to approve the City Council and Public Finance Authority consent items with item 16, was it, removed?
So moved.
All right, I have a motion from Councilmember Bavaro.
Second.
Second from Councilmember Wright. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Councilmember and Commissioner Alvarez.
Aye.
Vice Mayor and Vice Chair Ricky.
Aye.
Councilmember and Commissioner Bavaro.
Aye.
Councilmember and Commissioner Williams.
Aye.
Councilmember and Commissioner Wright.
Aye.
Councilmember Commissioner Scutia Brayton.
Aye.
Mayor and Chairperson Zwallen.
Aye. Motion carries 7-0, unanimous. So we will go back to item 16, consent item 16. Consider approving the encampment resolution funding program application. And we will have a staff report from Jessica.
Thank you, Mayor, City Council. Jessica Hill, the Interim Director of Community and Economic Development. So it's just a brief overview of the grants. The Encampment Resolution Funding is a 4-year grant program of a competitive application from the state of California, which includes 2 rounds of funding to provide grants to help address encampments and move those who are unsheltered into safe and stable housing. So the proposals and eligible projects are, again, to provide safe and stable and permanent housing opportunities for those in encampments, to help prioritize those living in state right-of-ways, and all of these eligible projects align with the city's Camp to Home initiative. So the current NOFA is just over $237 million, and applications are accepted on a rolling basis until June 2023. And then $150 million of that is prioritized for proposals to serve individuals living in the state right-of-ways. So again, if unapproved to submit an application, the action before us tonight is to actually submit this application to the state of California. The staff's proposing to focus on the Camp to Home initiative under the street outreach component, shelter, and then housing. The first component would support street outreach to hire 2 additional chat team members to help with the following priority locations along McHenry, 9th Street, Mays, and Yosemite. It would also help fill gaps of service on weekends and evenings, which is not currently provided. The grant's over a 3-year period of time and just a little over $783,000 for that component. In regards to the shelter, we're proposing to help support the ACES shelter over a 3-year period of time. The budget's $3.7 million to pay for about 33% of their annual budgets for the ACES Center. What this will do was ensure that we have the sustainability and funding for the shelter, as well as the ability to provide more supportive services at that location. Last up is the additional housing units. We're proposing an allocation of $2 million to help with the acquisition and rehabilitation to create more affordable housing units within the city of Modesto. Here's kind of a brief overview of what our application would look like. And again, the action we're asking for today is the approval to submit this application to the state of California. And then, if we do receive this grant, we'll come back to council with the acceptance of this grant. And with that, I'm happy to answer any questions.
All right. Any questions from council members? Seeing none, any comments from the public? Are there any members of the public that would like to come forward regarding consent item 16? Seeing no one in person, how about online? Are there any hands raised that I'm not seeing? No? All right, go back to council for comments. Vice Mayor Ricky.
Thank you, Mayor. I asked to have this item pulled because to me it really demonstrates the effort that the city is making to try to improve our homeless situation. And although it is just a grant application, and it certainly isn't guaranteed by any means, it's us trying. And us trying to solve this crisis is critical. And those efforts that we're making, even if it's not guaranteed, it's really, really important in terms of keeping our city on the correct trajectory in one of our biggest challenges. So I appreciate staff doing it, and I just felt it very important that we acknowledge the effort and the work the city is doing to address homelessness. Thanks, Mayor.
You're welcome. Councilmember Williams.
Thank you, Mayor. I think it was the right thing to do, Vice Mayor Ricky, to show what this is all about instead of just floating it through. So it does give the community the opportunity to also see that we really are trying to help our community in every level of the community. So thank you, Jessica, for your report.
All right. Councilmember Bavaro.
Thank you, Mayor. I also ditto the comments of Councilman Ricky and Williams. The city has worked very hard in putting together a strategic plan. I commend them for going after all grant monies. Homelessness is complicated. For every 1,000 people on the streets, you have 1,000 reasons why they're there. And we work hard because these individuals that we see on the street are human beings. and they're also children of God, just like all of us. And so I commend our staff in being proactive and aggressive on these kind of fundings.
Councilmember Wright.
Thank you, Mayor. There's several reasons why people are homeless, and what I really enjoy seeing is what our city and county is doing to help people that really want help. If you're homeless and you don't know where to go, we're here to help you. We do help people. We give them a job. We give them a street team. We go from camp to home, and we're doing more than any other city in the state of California is on helping their homeless. And the key thing is people need to want help in order to get help. We can't force people to get help, and we as citizens have to realize that, you know, we live in a country that people have rights to live the way really they want to live. If they want to live out on the street and want help, there's not much we can do. We can try, and we do try, but it's nice to know that we're here to help our homeless community, people that really need help. We're not here to give you a hand out, we're here to give you a hand up. We want you to be a productive member of our community, enjoy the fruits of our community. And Jessica, my hat's off to you and your staff. You do an amazing job on helping our low income and our rehabilitation housing projects that we do here in the city of Modesto and for our homeless community. And your team does a great job. Thank you.
All right, I have a resolution approving the Encampment Resolution Funding Program application and authorizing the city manager or his designee to submit the Encampment Resolution Funding application and applicable documentation as required by California Interagency Council on Homelessness, and to take the necessary steps to implement the provision of this resolution. Do I have a motion?
Motion to approve.
Motion
Second.
by Councilmember Wright.
Second.
Second by Vice Mayor Ricky. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Councilmember Alvarez.
Aye.
Vice Ma-
Sorry.
Vice Mayor Ricky.
Aye.
Councilmember Bavaro.
Aye.
Councilmember Williams.
Aye.
Councilmember Wright.
Aye.
Councilmember Scudero-Brayton.
Aye.
And Mayor Zwallen.
Aye. Carries unanimously, 7-0. Next on the agenda is council comments and reports. Do any of the council members have any comments and reports? Councilmember Scudero-Brayton.
Thank you. You can hear me, yeah. Thank you, Mayor. I was delighted, along with many of my colleagues, to attend the celebration of life today for Captain Doug McCullough. Okay, I apologize. And it was just a lovely, lovely ceremony. Captain McCullough served 34 years in fire service, which is a lifetime of honorable service. Sadly, he leaves behind his lovely wife, son, and daughter, and hundreds of community members that were there to pay their respects and say goodbye to one of Modesto's own. It was a sea of red with all of the equipment and uniforms and badges that were there to honor their peer and say their final goodbyes. Again, it was a lovely ceremony. It was an honor to have been there and observed. Also, today I was part of the appointments committee along with council members Ricky and Williams, where we concluded the first round of interviews for the interviews for the police review board. This was an extraordinary process. 73 individuals applied for this opportunity to be interviewed and ultimately make the cut to be on the 9-member police review board. It was an extraordinary amount of applicants. 42 ultimately ended up being invited for this first round of interviews. Again, it was 3 days. It was a mammoth effort, and I commend very much staff for coordinating this very complex process. They did a stellar job, put a great amount of effort and hard work into making it a very efficient, transparent process. Also, I wanted to applaud the members of the public who participated in observing this process. They were right there with all of the committee members, lock in step, to hear the questions and the responses of the applicants. So it was very commendable that the members of the public were invested enough in this process that they stayed with us throughout this whole process. And ultimately, the applicants, they wanted to be part of this solution, part of this process for the city, and were willing to step up and put in the hard work. And again, the fact that 73 said, I want to be part of this process was just extraordinary. Again, it was it continues to be a very complex process. We and the staff are doing everything possible to make it transparent and easy, and ultimately conclude with the 9 top candidates that will make up the Police Review Board. The candidate pool is very diverse, which is lovely, and everyone's coming very prepared and ready to put the best foot forward. At the conclusion of today, the committee, Appointments Committee made a recommendation to move forward the 15 top candidates that were interviewed. So 15 individuals will be invited to come back for the second round of interviews that will be taking place sometime in May. At the conclusion of that interview, second round of interview, we will identify the top 9 individuals, and we will be making a recommendation to this council for consideration to appoint those 9 individuals to make up, again, Modesto's Police Review Board. An amazing process being coordinated by great people, and looking forward to May's work and wrapping up that portion of the city's initiative. Lastly, I just would like to make a public announcement that I will be absent for the first 2 meetings, council meetings in May. I just want to make it known that that will be happening down the road, and this is for reasons that my husband and I every year participate in an out-of-country medical mission, and that will be the case this year as well, and that's the reason why I'll be absent for the first 2 meetings, council meetings in May. That concludes my remarks. Thank you very much.
You're welcome, Councilmember Bavaro.
Thank you, Mayor. This last week, I had the opportunity to meet with some of the leaders in cruising culture for coffee and a discussion about cruising in Modesto. In 1990, the Modesto City Council unanimously approved an ordinance outlawing cruising within the city limits due to traffic problems and crime-related cruising events. This was some 30 years ago. Today's cruising culture, if I can use that term, are our neighbors, there are colleagues at work, there are friends, people we go to church with, they're taxpayers, and they spend hundreds of thousands of dollars on cars. And I know that they are working with the police chief on hopefully removing this ban, cruising ban. It's in my understanding with the police chief, it's a safety and strategic planning issue that's being worked out. It has nothing to do with the character or the integrity of the cruisers themselves. It's a matter of just making sure that all bases are covered in the city of Modesto. And when that is completed and the police chief of Modesto signs off, I would be honored to cast my vote for the cruisers to once again enjoy their passion. Thank you, Mayor.
All right, you're welcome. Next is Councilmember Alvarez.
Thank you, Mayor. I just want to list off a couple of upcoming dates we have for community meetings. The City of Modesto has a series of upcoming community meetings related to housing and urban development. The Housing and Urban Development Annual Action Plan provides us the opportunity to share with the community a summary of the actions, activities, and how federal and non-federal resources will be used here in Modesto. So April 12th at 5:30 p.m. here in the council chambers, we have Stanislaus Homeless Alliance meeting. April 18th, 2 p.m., Modesto Neighborhoods Incorporated will be meeting. at Cross Point Park Place Building, 1317 12th Street. April 20th at 12 p.m., Citizens and Housing Community Development Committee will be meeting here at the council at City Hall. April 20th at 2:30, Stanislaus Community Systems of Care will be meeting at 3800 Cornucopia Way at Harvest Rooms D and E. And May 1 at 3 p.m., Airport Neighborhood Collaborative will be meeting. And you can find more information on those meetings and dates and times at modestogov.com. A little bit about the housing and roads. So I'm glad to announce that the city's rental inspection ordinance will be activated this new fiscal year. The program is intended to remove fear of eviction and retaliation for reporting unsafe conditions and protect the city's housing stock by tweaking how the city conducts rental housing inspections. And instead of being entirely complaint-driven, each year the city will inspect up to 10% of the rental housing stock randomly or based on data such as history of complaints at a particular property. A little bit about roads. I'm going to regurgitate some of this information here, but I'm excited to announce that District 2 will soon begin to see construction on Paradise Road. Modesto will use a $3.56 million state grant to make part of Paradise Road easier for people on foot or bicycle. The project will cover the half mile between Modesto High School and Sheridan Street, along with a few blocks on each side of the road. Vehicle lanes on Paradise will be reduced from 4 to 2, with the median for left turns. Striping will indicate the bike lanes on each side, and several crosswalks will become more visible, and the worn pavement throughout the project area will also be replaced. That's all I have, Mayor. Thank you.
You're welcome. Next is Vice Mayor Ricky.
Thank you, Mayor. I want to concur with my fellow council members that it was an incredible service today for Captain Doug McCullough. I want to send warm feelings to his family and children. He served our community for 34 years, and he gave his life to job-related cancer, and that is far too common. It's not cool. On to other stuff. I'm hopeful that we can come to conclusion on the cruising ban. We have so many good people coming and speaking to us every week. We have amazing cars coming through our city that are literally rolling pieces of cultural history. You know, together we can do this, and this is what government's all about. It's us discussing issues and trying to come to joint solutions. I also want to just call out that in 2 weeks, we're going to be having a visit coming from our sister city of Malnisky, Ukraine. I know a lot of us are aware of all the conflict in Ukraine and how just heartbreaking that conflict is. It's hard to imagine that Modesto has a sister city that has to deal with air raid sirens every day and missile attacks nearly every week. So it'll be a real honor to host them, and I look forward to hearing their stories. In regards to the Griseda Park restrooms, I'm encouraged that our Parks and Rec department is developing solutions for the struggles that we're having in maintaining the restrooms and in creating new solutions so that these facilities are safe and healthy for our families and our children. I'm really looking forward to that. And I also want to thank all the applicants for the Civilian Police Review Board. I know that I want to thank the staff a lot for running these interviews so effectively. I also want to thank my fellow committee members for all the time they took to make this happen over the last couple of weeks. We had enough qualified applicants to probably fill 3 boards, which is a real testament to the wonderful people in our city. And although we can't, I just want to say although we can't have everyone on the police review board, I hope that those of you that maybe weren't selected try to join one of our many other boards. We need good people that care about our city on our boards, that want to improve it. And that's all I got today, Mayor. Thank you.
You're welcome. Next, Councilmember Williams.
Thank you, Mayor. Most of the comments have already been said today concerning the service this morning, as well as the appointment committees for the Police Oversight Committee Board. What I would like to say concerning that is this: there were 73 of you that came out, and 73 that started with, 45 that were able to come out with the interviews. But the others who did not follow through for whatever reason, there are, as Vice Mayor Ricky has already said, there are other committees and commissions, not only with the City of Modesto, with the county as well, and so many other areas you can volunteer your services to. We saw the 45 of you come through, and if you weren't selected this time around, there is terms, 2-year terms, and of course, there is a limit even to that. So please continue to watch for another opportunity if it comes your way and you're in the position to be able to do so, because we always need good people to help lead our community in a good way. And lastly, wanted to let you all know that we are starting the appointments committee. Will start on the 24th of this month with the Measure H Oversight Committee, and we'll be looking into that as well. And so there's a lot of good things happening in Modesto, and please feel as though you can be a part of it. Maybe not this time, but there's a next time, but there's still other opportunities in which you can involve yourself to help make our city the best city it is. Thank you for your time, Mayor.
You're welcome. Councilmember Bavaro, your name is on there. Did you have another comment? Okay. All right. My only comment was today at the service for Captain McCullough. He was 52 years old, and his 14-year-old daughter gave the most incredible speech for her, in honor of her father, and she said, "I'm going to put a little fun in a funeral," and she went on about all the great memories that they had together, lots of fun, lots of humor, and if you have an opportunity, you might want to listen to that. It was incredibly remarkable from a 14-year-old young woman. All right, any other comments from council members at this time? Next we have the city manager. Does the city manager have any comments and reports? Not at this time. All right, we are going to take a 5-minute break. We will resume at 6:55. All right. All right, we will resume the meeting. Next on the agenda is new business. Item 31. Consider approving the purchase and agreements for the cybersecurity attack responses for an amount of $548,266 plus 7% contingency in the amount of $38,379 for a total amount not to exceed $586,645 and approving agreements with security tool vendors in an amount of $462,210 plus 7% contingency in the amount of $34,790 for a total amount not to exceed $497,000. All right, we will have a staff report from Scott Kahn.
Good evening, Mayor Zwallen, Vice Mayor Ricky, honorable council members for the City of Modesto. For those of you in the chambers and watching at home, my name is Scott Kahn. I am the Chief Information Officer and IT Director for the City of Modesto. In addition to the asks that are on the new business agenda report, I have a readout report on our recent ransomware event that I'd like to share with council. With me in the chambers is a wonderful representative group of agencies that assisted us from day one, including the Federal Bureau of Investigation, the Cybersecurity Agency for the state of California, part of the Office of Emergency Services, reporting directly to the governor, and members from California Highway Patrol that have been assigned to a special cybersecurity federal task force. You see some of their names on this slide. I will allow them to introduce themselves at the end of my presentation, but they are in the council chambers in support of the City of Modesto, coming all the way down from Sacramento, and I couldn't be more proud to have worked with them and learned many, many things, myself and my IT team, from these individuals. And like I said, they were with us from day one. So before I give you the readout, just some current cybersecurity facts to review, kind of set the level playing field here. Cybercrime is projected to hit $8 trillion in payments in 2023. It's an awful lot of money. 64% of organizations in the United States last year were hit with some form of a ransomware attack. If you think about that number, that's 2 out of 3 businesses were attacked last year. More than 33 billion records are projected to be stolen or accessed sometime in 2023. And the FBI's Cyber Most Wanted list now contains over 100 individuals and groups that they are researching and following. Government attacks rose 47% in 2022. And 95% of breaches are typically caused by the individual or the end user clicking on something they shouldn't click on. Now, for our sequence of events, I'll walk you through what happened first, second, third, and where we wound up. We were first infiltrated on Tuesday, January 31st in the morning. We were attacked 3 days later. So the bad guys got into our system and looked around for a little bit. And then they decided to attack us on Friday, February 3rd. What council needs to know is that through no act of a City of Modesto staff member or employee did this breach occur. Okay? Nobody clicked on anything bad in the City of Modesto. It turns out one of our trusted vendors got compromised outside of our system and their user account captured, and they just happened to use the same username and password to get into systems that they're supposed to maintain at the City of Modesto. So it was an actual vendor of ours that got hacked and allowed the penetration to our police department to occur. We were able, once the attack began, to isolate and contain the attack within 1 hour. Now, I'll share why that's significant in a moment, but that's pretty fast response for a cybersecurity attack. Back one, please. Once they got in, we were assigned attack response vendors from our cybersecurity insurance company. And these were all experts in various aspects of how do you detect, discover, protect, fix, restore systems. And I will tell you, each of our vendors that were assigned to us did a spectacular job. We began the forensics within 2 hours after the attack. We had our vendor pool all set up within 2 hours after we had discovered the attack. So we went to work finding out how did they get in, where did they go, what did they access, and that takes a little bit of time, and it takes specific tools in order to discover that information. We were able to do that, and once we had discovered the forensic information we needed, we immediately started on prioritizing our restoration and recovery process. It's not like the Big Bang Theory. You just can't push a magical button and everything comes back to life. You have to pick systems and say, this is our priority 1, this is our priority 2. And that's what we worked with our police department to do. So how did we perform as a city, as an IT department? I have some comparisons for us, and I say our collective performance on the slide title because it was not just the IT department that was battling this particular ransomware event. It was every department in the city. Everybody had a role to play. Everybody had a job to do and input to give us and assistance to give us. As I mentioned earlier, our threat actor was in our system for 3 days, and once they began the attack, we stopped it in an hour. Typically, companies don't discover somebody's in their system for an average of 194 days. We got it in 3. We isolated and contained the attack immediately. Basically, we disconnected the police department from the internet, from any other networks that they talk to, the sheriff's office, the district attorney's office, the Stanislaus County, and any other systems, so that we wouldn't be the ones who infected them. So we contained the attack immediately. Normally, companies take 277 days to contain the attack. That's 2/3 of a year. And we got it pretty quick. One of the other things we did is we figured out what were the critical systems and the priorities, and we figured out workarounds. We can't use this technology over here on the left anymore. Now we got to use this stuff over on the right and figure out how we can get people back to operating and doing their jobs normally. We were able to implement the critical workarounds within 3 days' time. Typically, you're looking at a month or more before anybody matches that current performance. So what did this all mean to the residents? No services were down or unavailable to the residents of Modesto. That includes 911 calls being serviced by the police and fire department. You could get a business permit. You could go to the website, see what you needed to see. All of that was available. If you take a look at some of our unfortunate fellow cities in the state of California today, they are still dealing with issues where this was not the case for them. We were 95% recovered within 5 weeks. That's frankly a phenomenal time frame. And we had all the critical infrastructure recovered in 3 weeks, when it typically takes 3 to 6 months to recover from an attack such as this. And probably one of the most important things for our residents, we did not pay 1 red cent to these people. They asked. We didn't pay. We didn't have to. Many agencies actually budget ransomware payment money in their budgets these days. That's how prevalent ransomware is. And what they discover is when they do pay, 50% of them still don't get their data back. They don't get their systems. These are criminals we're dealing with. You're going to pay them and trust them to do the right thing? You can't. So how did we beat the averages? How did we get faster than what the norm would be? One word, preparation. Okay? We were thoroughly prepared. We had defenses in place at 7 different layers in our IT systems. We acted upon a prior security audit that took place mid-2021, and put many of those recommendations into place prior to this event ever occurring. We developed relationships with outside experts so that we had the resources to come and ask the questions. What should we do next? What do you guys think about this? Who are we dealing with? What are their tendencies? Okay. We practiced a ransomware event in this very chambers in December, where the entire executive staff of the city went through a 4-hour exercise, and we documented what we did well, what we didn't do well, what we needed to change, and we went step by step by step and created a response playbook. And when this event hit, we followed that playbook to the letter, and it did very well by us. We communicated with our neighbor agencies. They knew what was going on as soon as we did. And we embrace a culture in IT of continual improvement. It's never good enough to be here. We got to go to the next place. So why wasn't the information I'm sharing tonight shared earlier? Really 2 reasons. This is still an ongoing investigation. Our agencies here are still investigating the people that hit us, and therefore it limits a lot of the things that we can share. It also comes down to common sense. If you want to keep somebody out of your house, you don't give them the floor plan and tell them what locks you put on the doors and tell them what alarm system you just installed. You know, it's an invitation to invite problems. Okay? And as it turns out, California law allows us to keep things that we believe would open us up to threat confidential. So we are going to keep our infrastructure protected. I don't like giving out the blueprints. So what's next for us? We've gone through preparation. We did the detection and the analysis, containment, eradication, and recovery. We're now into post-incident activity. We are writing down all of the many lessons that we learned, and we're going to take that playbook and we're going to improve it all the more. We're also going to be working with our insurance, our cybersecurity insurance company, to pay the response vendors, and then, the nice part about insurance, hopefully obtain reimbursement. So the amount that you'll see in an ask here for the response vendors is, we anticipate being reimbursed for the majority of that minus our $100,000 deductible, which is what our policy states. Okay. We also need to acquire the next generation security tools. We have good security tools in place. That's how we were able to perform decently during this event. It doesn't stop there. This is an evolving science of how do you attack people and how do you protect yourself from those attackers. We need to get the next generation installed to make ourselves a harder target the next time. With that, and as Mayor Zwollen read at the beginning, there are 2 resolutions that we're asking for your approval on. The first one involves paying our cybersecurity attack response vendors, not to exceed $559,000, knowing that we will be submitting those invoices back to the insurance company to hopefully get reimbursed minus our $100,000 deductible. The second resolution involves buying those additional security tools, the next generation tools we talked about. And in most cases, these were tools that we were going to bring to council anyway in the month of April before we got hit. And one of the interesting things is our response vendors actually installed some of those tools to help stop future attacks and help with the recovery. So we knew we had picked the right ones. With that, I'll ask our honored guest to come up and maybe say a few words to council, please.
Welcome, everyone. Appreciate you being here this evening.
Good evening, Mayor and City Council members. My name is Tom Andrade. I'm a task force officer with the California Highway Patrol and also on the Cyber Task Force at FBI in Sacramento. I just want to take a moment to thank Scott and Chief Gillespie for allowing us to come in and investigate. What happened to the City of Modesto was a crime, and it was a crime scene for some time. And it is ultimately an active investigation. I can't speak too much about the details or get into too much of the questions, but I wanted to thank everybody's cooperation in letting us into the front door in the first place. I see all too often, I go to ransomware incidents about once or twice a month, And a lot of entities, whether private business or governments, they shut the door on us, they shut the door on law enforcement and people wanting to come in and help and solve the problem and also investigate and go pursue the people who came and attacked. So I just wanted to say thank you to Scott, Chief Gillespie, for allowing us to do our job and come in here and help mitigate this. For 2 months, for 95% ransomware mitigation and recovery is outstanding, and Scott should be commended for that.
Thank you very much.
Hi, thank you for having us. I'm Lieutenant Andy Beasley. I'm the manager of the Computer Crimes Unit with the California Highway Patrol. And I actually just wanted to commend Scott on his communication throughout this incident. Tom is an officer assigned to my unit, but is assigned functionally to the Cyber Task Force in Sacramento with the FBI. And so the communication from the very beginning of this incident was instrumental to the success overall in our criminal investigation. So really just thank you to Scott and the team.
Thank you.
So good evening. My name is Nate Lay. I'm the cyber supervisor for the FBI in Sacramento, and along with all my colleagues here, we're on the cyber task force. And as Scott mentioned earlier, back in December, there was a tabletop exercise, and I wanted to thank Scott and his team. We were invited to that, and we sat and we contributed to that exercise. So out of that, I'm sure the plans helped, which I plan on talking to Scott a whole lot afterwards to draw some of the lessons learned. But having that preparation certainly helped. I remember sitting through it and thinking to myself, more cities and counties should be doing this because we have a plan for everything, right? Fire, earthquake, but we don't have a plan for cybersecurity, and Modesto did. So that's certainly commendable, and out of that also comes contacts and relationships that were already there. So when the real thing did happen, it was just a phone call away, and the cavalry came and helped. So thank you for inviting us, and thanks to your team for including us on some of the troubles you went through.
Great, thank you. All right, welcome.
Hi, my name is Gerard Legge. I work for the California Office of Emergency Services, more specifically the California Cybersecurity Integration Center. We are the incident response for the entire state of California, so we see this happen quite a bit. I'd like to say good job. You guys were able to bounce back from this, and the best thing is you guys didn't pay. That is pretty good. A lot of these people who've been hit, even their backups are wiped out. And you guys had valid backups, and that contributed to actually being able to put everything back together again. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Good evening, Mayor, council members. I'm Colonel Jack. I'm a member of the California Military Department. I'm the Director of Cyber. I've been in the position for about 4 months now, and I just want to state that this has happened since I've been in the last 4 months. There's a number of cities that have been hit, and it's just outstanding job to see what Mr. Khan has done with his IT team, the City of Modesto. Again, they did not pay, and they had a plan. They had backups, and they were able to get through it, and it was just awesome to see especially when other cities are taking 3 weeks, a month to finally get back online. It was an outstanding job.
Well, thank you very much, again, for being here this evening, and we appreciate your expertise.
Happy to take any questions, Council.
All right, questions from Council. Councilmember Bavaro.
Thank you, Mayor. You mentioned that we did not pay. My question is, the personal data that was released by these bad people, I guess, what information that was sent out, what's on the backside, what's going to happen to those individuals that this information was released? What are they going to pay in terms of having people steal their social security number, credit reports being destroyed, impacting all financial issues? So what do they pay?
It is a terrible situation. In our particular case, we had 2,280 individuals' information exposed or accessed. How much of that actually gets posted and grabbed from other, what we call threat actors or bad guys, we won't know. But we are doing our best as a city to protect those individuals and offering them credit monitoring. We notified them via letter, as we were required to do by law. Everybody's information that might have been accessed varied from individual to individual. But at the end of the day, it's a sad state of affairs for those individuals. And for that, we are extremely sorry.
Follow-up question, Mayor. Thank you. You say the City of Modesto is providing credit protection, so we're paying for that service. And have we had any response back of any damage done to our citizens?
At this point in time, no.
So the credit protection is working?
Those who are taking advantage of it, and it's been a very small number, actually, less than 4%.
Final comment is I wanted to compliment you on your quick action in protecting City of Modesto, protecting the police department, and our citizenry. And by not being pressured to release information was the right thing to do, and you should be acknowledged for that. Thank you.
Appreciate that, Councilmember.
All right, Vice Mayor Ricky.
Thanks, Mayor. First of all, I just want to applaud you for coordinating such an extensive team throughout the state, interorganizational arms and legs of all, federal government, state government, all coming in here to help us. That's fantastic. And I want to thank you guys for your effort in helping protect our city. This was a serious attack, and it seems like this whole family came together to protect us, and that's incredible. And the fact that we were able to get on top of it so quickly is a tribute to the work of you and your department. I think that we need to really celebrate that. And while I understand that some data got out, I mean, I can't speak for the rest of the council, but I've gotten like 3 letters from, Visa and MasterCard and everybody else that my data's been taken this week. So I think there's a lot of pearl clutching on that stuff, but this is a problem throughout the economy. It's not just us. This is a problem. It's a huge issue that we've got. The only question I had is that this breach came through a vendor that was not, it wasn't us. It wasn't our government. It was someone that's connected to us. Are we taking some steps to prevent that from happening in the future?
Yes, we've taken multiple steps, which I will not be able to share.
Understood.
Exposed to the tools and things that we're doing.
Thank you.
All right, Councilmember Williams.
Thank you, Mayor. Absolutely, Scott and your team. First of all, gentlemen, I guess dinner's on Scott tonight. Thanks for coming out. Well, no, Scott. Thanks for coming out. I mean, I feel bad that we don't have anything to give you other than thank you for stepping up to the plate and making this a reality of eliminating this threat for now and hopefully in the future. Continue to do what you do, and hopefully you will be able to do that for the cities in California and across the nation. But thank you for being here tonight. And to the Colonel, I think he's the only one that didn't get the memo about the tie, but that's okay.
All right, I have a question. You said that 2,280 individuals' information was accessed. So that's more than employees. Who else?
These are current and past employees.
Okay.
Information.
Thank you. Thank you for that clarification. And our past employees were notified as well?
Yes, they
All right.
were.
Thank you. Any other questions from council members? All right. We will go to the public. Are there any members of the public that would like to speak regarding item 31? I do not have any blue cards for in-person speakers, and I do not see any hands raised online. All right, so we will go back to the council for comments. Any comments from council members? Councilmember Bavaro.
Thank you, Mayor. On the lighter note, I was able to identify the FBI agent, and Scott confirmed it, so that was good for me.
All right, Councilmember Wright.
Well, I was wrong on my choice. So. Scott, you and your team did a great job, and the way you reacted after this was made public, I commend you on it. Privacy, being in the insurance business I am, privacy is very, very important. And I know there's local papers out here, I won't say names, would like to share everything we know to the public, and sometimes for their safety, it's best that we really look out for everybody's interests. And I just want to commend you and your staff and your team here, did a great job. And I know there's other large cities throughout California that are having problems that they probably wish you were at their helm because they weren't prepared, and they're in big trouble. So my hat's off to you. And for one old guy to another old guy, you're doing a great job.
All right, Councilmember Scudia Brayton.
Thank you, Mayor. I've always been impressed by Scott, but this just puts you over the edge. So thank you very much to you and your team. I know it took a mammoth effort by a large group of people, not only our Modesto team, but our extended professional team. And the fact that you knew who to partner with and collaborate, not only within our professional network circles here in Modesto and in Central Valley, but beyond, so that we can get to a place of resolution and less impact, or no, well, if less impact to the city of Modesto, is just so honorable. And the fact that you chose and knew well enough to collaborate with the FBI out of Sacramento. I, as I mentioned to one of the agents, had the distinct pleasure of serving and being a graduate at the FBI Citizens Academy, and I, for a period of time, was able to be introduced to their cybersecurity work and efforts, and it is just a well-run operation. It's just a group of professionals that just get the job done right, and the fact that our city was able to partner with them for the benefit of our community is just, it's wonderful. So again, thank you for a job well done and for collaborating with our extended partners in this effort. So thank you.
All right, Councilmember Alvarez.
Thank you, Mayor. I want to echo the sentiments of my colleagues and commend Scott for your integrity, your professionalism, and your acumen as you responded to this attack. And I just want to highlight the fact that we are in a digital age, right? I'm a millennial, and I'm the only millennial up here, but this is standard equipment for our generation, and your team there, the response team, the FBI, we all look relatively young, and it's standard equipment, and I think that it's important that other municipalities really, note this good case study, and it's important to be proactive with our security measures rather than reactive. So again, my hat is off to you and your team here. Kudos to you, gentlemen.
All right. Any other comments from council members? Seeing none at this time, our city manager would like to make a comment.
Thank you, Mayor. I just want to really quickly acknowledge Phil Calbreth in the back of the room. He really, truly is our unsung hero in this whole situation. I've worked with Phil for a long time, and I know he's been at the forefront of all that we've done to try and protect ourselves in the city of Modesto. He's been hard at work at it for a long, long time, and I truly believe a lot of his efforts over the years have really paid dividends to get us to this point. So, Phil, I'd just like to really congratulate you and thank you for all that you've done to help us out in this situation.
Thank you for acknowledging him. I was invited to with our IT staff soon after this happened, and many of you know I spent my career as an emergency room nurse, and they were traumatized. It was pretty remarkable to watch how sincerely they cared about their work and what they were doing. So I truly appreciate all of you, and especially all of you taking the time this evening to drive to Modesto and be here with us. Greatly appreciated. So I have a resolution approving the purchase and agreements for the cybersecurity attack responses for an amount of $548,266 plus 7% contingency in the amount of $38,379 for a total amount not to exceed $586,645, and authorizing the city manager or his designee to execute these agreements. A resolution approving the agreements with security tool vendors in an amount of $462,210 plus 7% contingency in the amount of $34,790 for a total amount not to exceed $497,000, and authorizing the city manager or his designee to execute these agreements. Do I have a motion?
Motion.
Second?
Excuse me, did I go to the public
Yeah.
for comments? Did I? Okay.
I don't remember that. Okay. You just double check there.
Scotty and Allison, did I go to the public? Okay, I did, all righty. All right, so do I have a motion as read?
Motion.
Second?
Motion by Councilmember Williams and a second by Councilmember Wright. Will the clerk please call the roll for this item?
Councilmember Alvarez.
Aye.
Vice Mayor Ricky.
Aye.
Councilmember Bavaro.
Aye.
Councilmember Williams.
Aye.
Councilmember Wright.
Aye.
Councilmember Scutia Brayton.
Aye.
And Mayor Zwallen.
Aye, the motion carries unanimously. All right, next, this item 32 will be presented along with item 2 from the Public Finance Authority agenda. This is consider approving a 3-year extension of the irrevocable direct pay letter of credit with BMO Harris Bank, N.A., formerly Bank of the West, supporting the lease revenue bonds, Series 2008, authorizing the distribution of a supplemental official statement and authorizing certain other related actions to complete the 3-year extension to the lease revenue bonds, LOC. Welcome, Deanna Christensen.
Good evening, Mayor, City Council, Deanna Christensen, Director of Finance. Is it not working? All right, thank you. It's on. So to give some background about these specific bonds, they are what's considered a variable debt type bond. So it does require us to hold a letter of credit through the maturity of these specific bonds. The letter of credit specifically ensures that if there is ever any issue in regards to being able to sell the bonds, again, that we have that security associated with the bond with a banking institution. Again, the letter of credit provider must purchase the bonds if it cannot be placed with other investors. So for this specific transaction, it is related to our lease revenue bonds that were refinanced in 2008 with this type of debt structure. These bonds were used to help fund the construction of the City of Modesto's portion for the construction of this building and City Hall, as well as some other general government infrastructure. So again, as I mentioned, variable debt does require us to hold the letter of credit with the banking institution. The current balance with these specific bonds is amounted to $41.8 million, with the maturity date that's scheduled to be paid off by September of 2033. The letter of credit provider for these bonds have been with Bank of America from 2008 through 2019. And again, that's been done through solicitation or extension process that have been done through, again, the term of this bond. In November of 2018, we actually kind of commingled this letter of credit with our request for proposals that we did for our banking services here with City of Modesto to just, again, expand the portfolio of a bank provider by providing both components and provide better pricing. So based on the results of that RFP, we did come back before council and we entered into a 4-year term with Bank of the West, which is now referred to as BMO, with these letter of credit scheduled to expire on June 13th of 2023, with the current rate that's structured at 37.5 basis points. So as we're getting through close to the expiration date, we utilized our municipal advisors PFM in early of this year to solicit another request for proposals for this service. We initiated the solicitation to about 26 financial banking institutions that provide this letter of credit. And based on the responses, we did receive 3 proposals of a 3 to 5 year term. The 3 proposals that were received were with BMO, which again is our current provider, as well as Bank of America and JP Morgan. Below, or as presented, is a summary of the fiscal results of the proposals that were provided. You'll see with BMO Harris, looking at the total cost related to this 3-year term, they clearly provide the best pricing in regards to what was proposed. And the other proposals that were captured, again, they weren't even close to what was presented to BMO. So again, we just wanted to acknowledge the overall costing for the 3 proposals that were provided. So just to summarize the fiscal impact, the proposal that was provided under the new request for proposals does reduce the basis points from 37.5 to 34 basis points. It will reduce the overall cost compared to the current agreement with about $11,000 to $14,000 annually. But net overall, there still is an overall cost of about $7,000 just because of the one-time costs that do get incurred with being able to address getting all of the bond documents, as well as transactions that need to be coordinated with bond counsel as well as our municipal advisors. These fees are covered through the allocation that we do for all city departments that reside in this facility, as well as a portion being applicable to our successor redevelopment agency. And then as the mayor mentioned, this vote does not only have to be approved under the city council agenda, but also under the Modesto Public Financing Authority. This authority does require under government code to require a vote associated with any type of financing or refinancing transactions related to our public infrastructure. The governing body for this authority is our Modesto City Council. So it does require separate votes for the City Council as well as the Public Financing Authority. So I have the first recommendation that's being proposed, and I won't reread it, but I'm more than happy to answer any questions.
All right, questions from council? Seeing none, public comment. Are there any members of the public that would like to address item 32? I do not see any hands raised or anyone in person. Is that correct? All right. I will close public comments. Are there any council comments? All right. I have a resolution of the City Council of the City of Modesto relating to Modesto Public Financing Authority lease revenue refunding bonds series 2008 approving amendment number 1 to reimbursement agreement among BMO Harris Bank N.A., City of Modesto, and Modesto Public Financing Authority, amendment number 1 to fee letter agreement and a supplement to official statement and authorizing certain other related actions. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Moved by Councilmember Bavaro.
Second.
Second by Councilmember Alvarez. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Councilmember Alvarez.
Aye.
Vice Mayor Ricky.
Aye.
Councilmember Bavaro.
Aye.
Councilmember Williams.
Aye.
Councilmember Wright.
Aye.
Councilmember Scudia Brayton.
Aye.
And Mayor Zwallen.
Aye. Carries unanimously. The next is Public Finance Authority resolution. Resolution of the Modesto Public Financing Authority relating to Modesto Public Financing Authority lease revenue refunding bonds, Series 2008, approving the extension of a credit facility and approving the form of and authorizing the execution and delivery of an amendment number 1 to reimbursement agreement, an amendment number 1 to fee letter agreement with BMO Harris Bank N.A., and a supplement to official statement, approving the forms of and authorizing the execution and delivery of a remarketing agreement with TD Securities and authorizing certain other related actions. So this is the Public Finance Authority agenda item. Do I have a motion?
Motion to approve?
Motion by Councilmember Wright. I'll second it. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Commissioner Alvarez?
Aye.
Vice Chair Ricky?
Aye.
Commissioner Bavaro?
Aye.
Commissioner Williams?
Aye.
Commissioner Wright?
Aye.
Commissioner Scutia-Brayton?
Aye.
And Chairperson Zwallen.
Aye, carries unanimously. Next is item 33, which will be presented along with item 3 from the Public Finance Authority agenda. This is to consider approving a 3-year standby certificate purchase agreement with BMO Harris Bank N.A., supporting the water refunding revenue certificates of participation, Series 2008A water bonds, authorizing certain other related actions to substitute the agreement for the existing letter of credit. All right, we will have a staff report on this item.
All right, good evening again. Very similar to the last item. This one now is on a second, different type of debt, but same nature. It's related to our water certificate of participation bonds. Again, when those bonds were refunded, had the same type of debt structure related to a variable rate debt. So these specific bonds were refunded back in 2008. The original proceeds of these bonds were used for funding a variety of water fund projects for the city's water infrastructure. The current obligation for these water COPS bonds has a balance of $42.4 million, with these ones having a maturity date that ends in October of 2036. So to give some background in regards to the letter of credit since the inception of this bond, so this one specifically also was with Bank of America from 2008 through 2011. Again, we solicited a solicitation, and we did actually change banks to JP Morgan, starting in 2011 through the current year. We also did a solicitation back in 2018. We did coordinate and reach out to Bank of the West just to see if they wanted to present competitive pricing with the pricing that was being provided by JP Morgan. And based on the results of the 2 proposals that we received, we determined that JP Morgan still provided the best pricing associated with this letter of credit. So we did come before council in May of 2020, and we did request an extension of 3 years to continue the letter of credit with JP Morgan, with an expiration date also ending of June of 2023 this year. But they did also reduce their fees from a 70 basis points to 57.5 basis points. So we did work with our municipal advisors to actually package both letter of credits for both bonds in early of this year. We also solicited to the same banking institutions in regards to trying to secure letter of credits for these bonds. We also received 3 proposals, same thing with 3 to 5 year terms. We actually did receive different banks. We did receive a proposal from BMO, formerly Bank of the West, as well as PNC, and then the current provider, JP Morgan. So doing a comparison of the proposals that we received, if you don't mind going to the next slide. Based on the 3 proposals that were received, you can clearly see with Bank of the West, they did actually provide 2 different types of proposals, one with the letter of credit and one with the standing certificate purchasing agreement, and then the JP Morgan and PNC. So we are recommending to move forward with the lowest proposal. I do want to call out, you'll see that there are some significant higher one-time fees when you look at the pricing for BMO compared to JP Morgan. Just because with the banking change, we do have to change a lot of our bond documents. That does incur a lot of additional fees through bond counsel as well as municipal advisors. But looking at the overall fee of the 30 basis points compared to the one being proposed by JP Morgan, there is an overall significant savings if we move forward with the standing certificate proposal option with BMO. So looking at the fiscal impact, with the change that's being proposed, it will significantly reduce the basis points from 57.5 to 30. This will actually generate an overall annual cost annually of about $100,000 to $125,000, and again, that's 3 years term, so a little over $300,000 we would save. But again, netting the one-time fees, overall, this would generate a net savings to the water fund of a little over $201,000. And again, similar to the last item, it does require a dual vote in regards to ensuring that we also have a vote under the Public Financing Authority with the same governing body. And I'm more than happy to answer any questions.
All right, questions from council members? Seeing none, any comments or questions from the public regarding item 33 and Public Finance Authority, item 3? I do not see anyone in person nor online. Right, just pausing a few minutes in case there's someone online. Nope, not at this time. Any comments from council members? All right. Item 33, consider approving, this is a resolution of the City Council of the City of Modesto relating to water refunding revenue certificates of participation 2008 Series A, approving the forms of and authorizing the execution and delivery of a standby certificate purchase agreement and a fee letter with BMO Harris Bank, N.A., approving the form of and authorizing the distribution of a remarketing memorandum in connection with therewith and authorizing certain other related actions. Do I have a motion?
Motion to approve.
Motion approved by Councilmember Wright.
Second.
Second by Councilmember Scudia-Brayton. Will the clerk please call the roll for this item?
Councilmember Alvarez.
Aye.
Vice Mayor Ricky.
Aye.
Councilmember Bavaro.
Aye.
Councilmember Williams.
Aye.
Councilmember Wright.
Aye.
Councilmember Scutia-Brayton.
Aye.
And Mayor Zwallen.
Aye. Carries unanimously. I have a resolution of the Modesto Public Financing Authority relating to water refunding revenue certificates of participation 2008 Series A, approving the forms of and authorizing the execution and delivery of a standby certificate purchase agreement and a fee letter with BMO Harris Bank, N.A., approving a first supplemental trust agreement and approving the forms of and authorizing the execution and delivery of a remarketing agreement with PNC Bank, approving the form of and authorizing the distribution of a remarketing memorandum in connection therewith and authorizing certain other related actions. This is from the Public Finance Authority Resolution, PFA, item 3. Do I have a motion?
Motion to approve.
Motion by Councilmember Wright. I'll make the second. Will the clerk please call the roll for this item?
Commissioner Alvarez.
Aye.
Vice Chair Ricky.
Aye.
Commissioner Bavaro.
Aye.
Commissioner Williams.
Aye.
Commissioner Wright.
Aye.
Commissioner Scutia-Brayton.
Aye.
Chairperson Zwallen.
Aye. Carries 7-0, unanimous. Next is item 34. Consider approving the purchase of the Modesto Police Department patrol vehicles and a Modesto Fire Department boat with trailer replacement and authorizing the city manager or his designee to issue the purchase orders. All right, we'll hear from Chief Gillespie first, it looks like.
All right, well, good evening, Mayor and City Council. Tonight before you is to consider approving the purchase of the Modesto Police Department patrol vehicles and the Fire Department boat. And really what I want to go over is the background. Every year our Public Works Department, their fleet division, identifies vehicles for replacement based on mileage, condition, and the maintenance cost. And we submit that every year to the City Council for approval. Currently, we have 34 vehicles with the Modesto Police Department that are pending replacement, including, this includes a pilot program with our electric vehicle that was recently approved by Council. But with that, we're having an issue with manufacturing, supply chain issues with obtaining those vehicles. We have had several on the replacement list for a while, and those dates continue to get pushed back. And so I know the fire chief will talk about the boat, but I really want to focus on the Modesto Police Department's vehicles. So this is not just a Modesto, City of Modesto issue. This is a nationwide issue that we have seen with supply chain for police vehicles. To the point where police chiefs are getting on different forums that we have to communicate in California and actually throughout the country, and really trying to pick each other's brains on how we can get patrol cars for our cities. And so we've actually looked at vendors even out of state, and when we've tried to even inquire about those vehicles, oftentimes those vehicles are already gone within a day or two of purchase because other cities are putting down purchase orders for those. So with the limited amount just of vehicles across the country, with the constant turnover of police vehicles due to just the nature of what we do of drive, and we put mileage on vehicles and they wear out, and there's vehicle accidents included in those, there is just an extreme shortage. And so the process that we currently go through to obtain those vehicles just doesn't allow us in a timely manner to get vehicles. And we've already had 2 occasions over the last month where we've just have not been able to hold on and secure vehicles that were available because other departments have come in and taken those vehicles. So go back one slide, Scotty. The electric, I talked about the electric pilot vehicle, the Mach-E. We're still exploring what electric vehicles look like in the city of Modesto. We continue to explore those as options as well. But those are, that's just compounded with, that's going to take time. And so electric vehicles, we want to go through the pilot program before we push forward with any future build out of that. And so we're just talking about police vehicles. And the challenge with police vehicles is what we look for is pursuit rated vehicles. There's 2 places, LA SO as well as Michigan State Police, that test vehicles for pursuit ratings. And so that limits, you can't just go out and buy any type of patrol vehicle. The ones that we purchase are pursuit rated to make sure that they're safe for our officers to drive. So I will turn the next piece over with the boat to the fire chief.
All right. Good evening, Mayor and Council.
Good evening.
Alan Ernst, Fire Chief. I wish I wasn't here today to ask for a boat, but unfortunately on March 25th, en route to a water rescue, our boat was involved in an accident. And thankfully, no parties were hurt during that accident, but it did unfortunately damage the boat beyond repair. And it is our only boat that we have within the city of Modesto. And our next closest boats, if we were to ask for help, would be from the Ceres Fire Station, Riverbank, or Waterford. And with the anticipated levels of the river this year, we do anticipate a very active water season, and we want to be prepared for in case we are needed for those water emergencies. We are fortunate because we are experiencing very similar supply chain issues. Just an example, if we were to order a fire engine today, it's a 4-year delivery time we're getting notified of right now. The boat was going to be over a year to replace. However, the vendor that we buy our boats from in the past has one that an order was canceled and it's available in July. And so that's why we saw the urgency to come before you tonight and ask for this. I was prepared for this year's budget to ask for replacement for that boat because that boat was 20 years old as well. And so with that, that is the reason why I'm before you tonight asking for to move forward with the boat purchase.
Right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So the agenda item that's being asked is to request that we authorize the city manager to be able to issue purchase orders specifically for the Modesto Police Department patrol vehicles that are listed under Exhibit A as part of this attachment, as well as the fire department boat with trailer. We anticipate, just again looking at what we've seen in the market, that the patrol vehicles do range around the $57,500 to $63,250, and then the boat that Chief Ernst mentioned about is estimated at about $50,000. So the goal and the objective would be is, as a vehicle becomes available at potentially any dealer across the nation, my team will go through, vet the pricing, ensure again that the prices are reasonable. In most cases, when we are able to purchase it directly to through the dealer, we can actually take possession of it once again we can secure a purchase order. But the challenge right now is we don't have that authority and authorization to issue a purchase order because most of these are above the $50,000 threshold. So this item would give the city manager authorization once the purchase order is approved, and again, we get confirmation from the vendor that it's been accepted, then we would come before council and to ensure that we still acknowledge the transparency of the actual value of these vehicles, what was done to vet the procurement process, and then the vendor that it was awarded to. Just to go over the fiscal impact, so for the police patrol vehicles, Again, all of those vehicles are captured as part of the fleet replacement fund. So again, the department has been incurred various fleet replacement funds to be prepared to fund these replacements as they become to be termed unserviceable, or again have reached the useful life of the equipment. And then with the boat for the fire department, it is going to be absorbed as part of the current year's budget. And going forward, it will be incorporated for future fleet replacements. So again, we build up the reserve to have the funding when we do need to purchase a replacement boat in the future. And then the recommendation is to establish a resolution approving the purchase of the police department patrol vehicles and the Modesto Fire Department boat with trailer replacements under Exhibit A, and authorizing the city manager or his designee to issue the purchase orders. And the chiefs and myself are more than happy to answer any questions.
All right, thank you very much. Councilmember Wright.
Thank you. Thank you, Mayor. Chief Erdson, I've got a question concerning the boat. So we have two other agencies that we contract with, Ceres and Oakdale or Riverbank?
Oakdale.
Oakdale, yes. They both have boats.
Correct.
So when we have a fire and you call for other units to come out, do we use the other Ceres and Riverbank and Oakdale to respond also?
Correct.
So if we have two other agencies that they contract with us, and each of them have a boat, do we need a third boat?
We do.
Help me with that process.
No, absolutely. It's a great question. And the way our process works is anytime we launch a boat for rescue, we have to have two boats on the water for safety. One for the initial rescue and another on standby in case the rescuers need rescue or something happens mechanically with that boat. So it's imperative that we have a number of boats that can support it. And with our contracts in Oakdale, they are very busy on the Stanislaus River in Oakdale. So one boat is located in Knights Ferry and the other one is located in Oakdale City. So if we take the Modesto boat out of the system, we will now have to wait approximately 20 to 30 minutes for a boat to come from either Oakdale or Knights Ferry or Waterford to launch in Modesto for the Tuolumne River.
So Oakdale has two boats?
Oakdale City has one boat. Oakdale Fire Protection District, Knights Ferry has one boat.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right, I have a question too, Alan, about that. We only have one boat for the city of Modesto?
Correct, yes. Well, we had one boat.
We did.
We don't have a boat anymore.
Yes.
No, I know. That's
Yes.
surprising to me with all the rescues that I know happen
Yeah, we rely
in
on
this
our
area,
partners to
and
help.
especially considering what's possibly happening this summer. And you
Correct.
said July it would be here?
Yes, that's the hope.
The sooner, the better.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay.
Councilmember Escudilla-Brayton.
Thanks, Mayor. Chief Ernst, questions for you.
Yes.
Don't go away so quickly. Is our fleet and our equipment insured?
So that's a great question. Unfortunately, the boat was excluded from the insurance policy due to a watercraft. And so the boat was not insured. We are exploring insurance for the boat moving forward for the new boat if we were successful in a purchase.
Okay, thank you.
All right, any other questions from council members? Seeing none at this time, I'll open it up to the public. Are there any members of the public that would like to speak regarding item 34? I do not see anyone in person. There is no one online. Any comments from council members? Seeing none at this time, we have a resolution approving the purchase of Modesto Police Department patrol vehicles and Modesto Fire Department boat with trailer replacements under Exhibit A and authorizing the city manager or his designee to issue the purchase orders. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Moved by Councilmember Alvarez.
Second.
Second by Councilmember Escudilla-Brayton. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Councilmember Alvarez.
Aye.
Vice Mayor Ricky.
Aye.
Councilmember Bavaro.
Aye.
Councilmember Williams.
Aye.
Councilmember Wright.
Aye.
Councilmember Escudilla-Brayton.
Aye.
And Mayor Zwallen.
Aye. So the motion carries unanimously. Thank you very much. Next is item 35, discussion of the use of America Rescue Plan Act funds to provide funding for hazard pay to retirees and possible direction from council. We're going to have a staff report. Welcome.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Christina Alger, Director of Human Resources. So this item is coming back to you. On March 7th, staff brought a tentative agreement with our unions to provide hazard pay to union members. At that time, Council instructed staff to bring an item to allow discussion of retiree compensation. We did look at CalPERS in the interim, who states that this is not a PERSable item. However, best practice would be to get that in writing because CalPERS does typically audit us, and so we would want to have that. And we also looked at the Treasury, and we reached out to the Treasury, attempted to get an answer from them on whether or not this item would be allowed under the ARPA guidelines. However, we were unsuccessful in getting an answer from the Treasury to date. So I'm happy to answer questions as you discuss this item. I'm here to support you in aiding that discussion.
All right, thank you. Any questions from council members? Councilmember Bavaro.
Thank you, Mayor. Are there other jurisdictions, including the county, that are including retirees in the hazard pay?
What we are aware of, there are none. No agencies that we are aware of have included retirees in this particular item.
And with regard to ARPA guidelines and provisions, it's very vague, and it doesn't really define the employee. It doesn't say you can or cannot include former employees. So if this was not to be clearly defined, and we had an audit, what exposure, if any, would the city of Modesto have in repaying ARPA if they were to deem that funding retirees was not part of their guidelines?
Yes, so if we were audited and it was determined that this wasn't allowable under the ARPA guidelines, we would be required to pay that money back.
And since we're going to be using up pretty much all the ARPA monies, and that was to occur, then that would be coming out of the general fund, or would it?
Yes, it would.
So that would be the sales tax, property tax. So if that was to occur, not saying it would, but we have no clarity, that would be a possibility.
That is correct.
You've answered my questions.
All right, Vice Mayor Ricky.
Christina, it's complicated when you pay retirees money once they retire. Can you explain to me how we can pay retirees money with the restrictions that are placed on former employees by the state?
So typically, if we were to want to compensate a retiree, for the most part, what we would do is we would reactivate them in the system. And what that does is it triggers a CalPERS to question why we're reactivating them in the system. So it's pretty complicated when it comes to PERS and retirees because, you know, if we trigger CalPERS, they start to look at what we're doing and they may want to audit us and look at, you know, all of the things that we're doing in terms of compensation. We also have the problem of taxes and payroll taxes and how does that work, and we would need to issue, you know, tax documents and those kinds of things, and that's pretty complicated when it comes to employees who are no longer employed.
Thank you.
All right, any other questions from council members?
I had one more question.
All right, Councilmember Bavaro.
I noticed where it says staff recommendation, it states there is no staff recommendation associated with this item. Am I to interpret that as because of the lack of clarity with ARPA guidelines and CalPERS?
That is correct.
Thank you.
All right. Any other questions from council members? All right. Seeing none, we'll open this up to the public. Are there any members of the public that would like to come forward regarding item 35? Welcome.
As a retiree, I spoke last time I was here. If you had paid us like they paid the county, then the money would already be in my pocket. And you wouldn't have to deal with these issues of waiting till so much time has passed and then trying to figure out how are we going to pay these guys now that they've retired. I would have still been working. A lot of people that have retired would have still been working, and you would have paid out all that money. And you wouldn't have these issues that you'd have to deal with. Now, I don't understand why we weren't paid like the county was paid. I had friends that worked for the county. They were compensated from this money when it was given out from the government. And I don't understand why the city of Modesto didn't do that. It doesn't make a lot of sense to me. So I don't understand why we're having so much trouble trying to figure out. I retired in September at the end of all of this, but I worked through the whole fiasco of the pandemic. I was there every day, just like a lot of people, like a lot of us retirees were. But now we are not worthy of compensation, which I don't feel is great. We can fill out tax forms just like anybody else can, just like a regular employee. You just put your name down, put your information down, and they figure it all out. They take your money just quick as anything. I mean, it's not that complicated that they can't take it from you just like everybody else. And we're willing to let people take our money if we get our compensation just because we were there working, doing our job, doing our thing for everyone else. So I do feel we should be compensated. We didn't lack, we did not do our jobs. We showed up every day. But now we're not worthy. Thank you.
You're welcome. All right. Online, I have Kevin Valine.
Hi, can you hear me, Mayor?
Yes, I can.
Thank you. This is a question for Christina. Could you re-explain again the issue with, I'm hearing you say two things about why this is complicated. One is we don't have clear guidance from the Treasury regarding, is this an allowable use of ARPA funds? And then two, are you saying this is really complicated involving CalPERS, trying to compensate now retired employees? We'd have to reinstate them and make them city employees just for the purpose of compensating them. And then how do we do that just for this purpose? And then how do we explain that to CalPERS? And then how do we do all the accounting and tax information for this compensation? I want to make sure I understood what you said. And the last thing is, CalPERS could explain how you could do this, but they just haven't at this point.
All right, so I understand there's three questions. First being guidance from the Treasury. Second, if that's complicated regarding CalPERS, and then CalPERS questions.
So I'm going to actually just confirm that the first two statements that he made were correct. He just restated what I had stated in terms of the Treasury and CalPERS and the complications of paying that after retirement. And really the bigger question right now is that we don't have clear guidance on whether or not it's allowed under ARPA. So that is probably the bigger issue here. We did attempt to reach the Treasury and ask the question, but we've been unsuccessful in getting an answer. So that would probably be the larger issue here.
All right, thank you. Is there anyone else in person that would like to speak regarding item 35? Welcome.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Council. Thank you, City Manager. My name is Mario Piazza. I was the wastewater operations supervisor. I worked for the city for almost 20 years, and I retired in December of 2021. I worked every day of the pandemic, came in faithfully every day to make sure our operations crew
was safe. Quite often, they took time off because they either got COVID or their family members did. So I would come in and work overtime, which operations supervisors don't get overtime for that. I was there at 3 or 4 in the morning covering the guys. I'd come in on the weekends to assess them to make sure they weren't too tired to work. So I believe that we're due this money from the ARPA Act. Excuse me, I'm not a public speaker, so I'm not real comfortable. But I believe a lot of people here put their heart and soul into the city. I was there for 20 years. Some others were here for over 30 years. And we believe the city of Modesto is family. And as part of that family, we felt we'd be there every day during the pandemic to do our jobs. I still have operators call me to pick my brain about operations and wastewater processes. I'm more than happy to talk to them. And talking to all the people there, they believe, and also all the retirees believe, that we should be paid out of the ARPA funds. Anyway, thank you for your time.
You're welcome. Thank you. All right. Any other public comments on this item, item 35?
Hi, my name is Melanie Garcia, and I retired from the city after 24 and a half years in finance. I retired in December of 2022, and then this all took place in March. I have other retired coworkers who've worked 40 years for the city of Modesto and retired right before me. Another girlfriend in my same department retired, I want to say February, and then this happened in March. And I agree with the other gentleman that spoke earlier that said, why didn't we get this when everybody else got this? We knew about it, you knew about it. We asked about it, we went to our union and we said, what about us? And the whole thing was, if this tax bill, if it goes through, if we would have been paid when all this was going on, or as soon as you got the money, you wouldn't be having to go through all these steps. And the part about it being difficult isn't a problem. It shouldn't be a problem. You should do the right thing. We worked. We were here. We did our job faithfully. And even before that, I mean, we've been here. We put in the time. And just because it was time for us to say, okay, I'm retiring and I'm going on, doesn't mean that we don't deserve what we worked for. We don't deserve what everybody else got. We were here. And we had the knowledge because, of course, we've been here longer. I just think that the city needs to do the right thing, regardless of what other cities did. You guys need to step up and do the right thing. The city of Modesto has lost a lot of what I would say the standard that you used to have. When I started working here, the city of Modesto was great. It's not as great as it used to be. Okay, it's a lot of talk. It's not as great as it used to be. But I ask that you guys do the right thing and compensate us. It was your lack, I feel, of waiting and dragging your feet and not paying when you could have. So again, I ask that you do the right thing. There's, 80 some of us, and if it's hard, I'm sorry, but it is what it is. We worked right along all these other people who may have worked here 2 years prior to us, before all this happened. Again, I just ask that you do the right thing. Thank you.
You're welcome. All right. Anyone else online that would like to comment regarding item 35? Anyone in person? All right, so we will go back to council members for comments. Councilmember Bavaro.
Thank you, Mayor. I appreciate retirees coming out tonight. I appreciate the current and former city employees for their service and dedication to the city of Modesto. The issues I have is the lack of clarity with regards to CalPERS and the ARPA Treasury guidelines. And so with that lack of clarity, I then go into my cautious mode. And this time, Mayor, I propose to make a motion to not amend the negotiated agreement with the City of Modesto and the 5 unions for hazard pay to retirees that was approved on March 7th, 2023.
All right. Are there comments from council members? We have a motion. No comments at this time? The only comment that I will make is that I heard words like not worthy and that we're family and whether people are deserving. That makes, of course, every decision really difficult because you are deserving, you're family, and you are worthy. However, I cannot support amending it because I asked these questions before, and so I will not be able to do that in the best interest of the city at this time. All right, so we have a motion. Do I have a second? Second from Vice Mayor Ricky. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Councilmember Alvarez.
Clarification, will you please read the motion again?
May I, Mayor?
Sure.
Thank you, Mayor. Not to amend the negotiated agreement between the City of Modesto and the 5 unions for hazard pay to retirees that was approved on March 7th, 2023.
Thank you.
All right, we have a motion from Councilmember Bavaro and a second from Vice Mayor Ricky. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Councilmember Alvarez.
You're going to make me do this twice. Aye.
Vice Mayor Ricky.
Aye.
Councilmember Bavaro.
Aye.
Councilmember Williams.
No.
Councilmember
No.
Wright.
Sorry.
Aye.
Councilmember Scutia-Brayton.
Aye.
And Mayor Zwallen.
Aye. So I need to clarify. Councilmember Williams, was that a no?
That's a no.
Okay, all right. So it carries 6-1 in the affirmative. Next, are there any matters too late for the agenda? Seeing none, I'm calling this meeting of the City Council and the Public Finance Authority meeting to be adjourned.